Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this Q&A where the wonderful ladies in the 2026 Living Your Dream group get to ask me some questions. Chana, you want to go first?
Sure. So my first question is, how can you tell the difference between like being a fear and not wanting to do something?
Yeah. And so what's the not wanting? Like, I just don't want to do it. Is that what you mean? Like, it's just that feeling of not wanting, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I should I give an example or like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do an example.
Sure. Okay. So for example, this job search of mine, a lot of the positions are out of state.
Yeah.
And so when I think about that, there's part of me that's excited about it, but then there's also part of me that's like, I don't know if I want to be far away from my family. I've already set a boundary where I don't want to be like more than one flight away from Kentucky.
Yeah.
So there's that. But even so, I'm like, do I actually want that? Is that what I want? Or am I just afraid of being away from them? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And my answer would be that it doesn't matter. It's a sneaky how. It's a sneaky, like, should I ask for this? Should I not? Kind of trying to control versus just being in the moment and like, oh, that would be a cool place. Like staying in the excitement of it and letting, like, when the offer comes, right? Or when an offer comes, letting yourself, going back to our episodes recently, is it a hell yes or is it a no? And trusting from there versus trying to figure out in the beginning, like, oh, do I want that one? Should I, like, just going for what feels inspired to apply to, and then trusting the yes or the no.
Right. I'll say like that when I got the email that they wanted to talk to me, my brain was 12 miles down the road already, where I'm like, well, I'll have to sell everything, then I have to move. And I'm like, whoa, it's just a phone call.
Yes.
Hold on, time out. It's just a phone call. You might not get a second one, and that's okay. Like, you have to pick up and move to Chicago tomorrow. So, okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah. There's certain aspects where I think I can apply the hell yes or the hell no to easier than like when it comes to my career.
Yes.
Like what I think I want out of that. So,
well, and I think, yeah, of course, I think in general, people are trained, oh, I have to plan 10 steps down the road instead of like be in the process, just be present in the interview. And when you get it and the papers, in front of you or on, DocuSign or whatever, like there's an offer in front of you, make the choice then. But we're so often, I think we're taught to like avoid the bad stuff, but that really doesn't help us. Like, ooh, like I might not want to move, so I shouldn't look into this, or, ooh, I should be prepared to move in case I get the job, versus being present in the process and in enjoying that and moving forward. And then knowing when it gets to that moment, you'll know what the decision is.
Sorry, I'm taking notes.
No, that's perfect. I love it. Awesome. All right. I think, do you have a second question?
I do. And it is kind of, I think it sort of piggybacks on that. Like, it's, well, what happens if I'm not sure what I want out of my manifestation in my life? Like, how do I work through a period of unknowing and doubt? And I think that's why the job search is bringing that up, where I'm like, is this what I want? Is this who I am? Is this, who does she what does she look like? Who is she? So now I'm kind of, because I'm into the assignments of scripting. So now it's like, oh gosh, do I need to kind of pause and take a step back and like feel into it? Maybe I just answered my own question. I don't know. So yeah, that's
step back from the job search. Or step back from what?
Yeah, I'm like step back from trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. Yeah, that is what you always, I mean, that's almost always, like, always if we're trying to figure it out, step back, right? And just trust, because what I know about this job search is that it's fun and it's activating all this stuff in you and it's opening up all these possibilities. So the outcome doesn't matter. I believe that the job search was inspired. So nothing has to be figured out if you just follow inspiration.
Okay. And I know I took a bunch of notes about that when Leslie was talking about, inspiration always comes back and always works out. Yes. So yeah, that really resonated with me just in this whole search of, but yeah, has been really exciting and it's been really fun, especially with all the bigger salaries. I'm like, wow, it's so cool. But okay. Yeah, I guess that it was making me kind of come back and like doubt, I guess, like my character story that I developed. But okay, no, I feel better about that. You get to
trust both. Yeah. You get to trust the story that you created, and you get to trust that you are creating it. You are being created within it. Even if it seems like it's at two different parts, like you're on the path. So you're not supposed to be there yet.
Okay. Yeah. When you said two different parts, I think it for a moment, it felt like it was two different people, but it's just two different parts of it.
Yes.
Still the same person.
Yes.
It's just, they're not like totally parallel paths, right?
Right now. Exactly. It is moving you to her. And I think where people get off is that they get into that how of, okay, this is what I want, but I can't exactly see how this is going to create that. Instead of trusting the inspiration that you've had and going with it and knowing that's ultimately leading to your character's life.
Right. Yeah. And it's more of like letting go of the how and the what and just focusing on that being and the feeling of that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Always ask those questions because I need a lot of coaching on that.
Well, we all do, because it's the opposite of how we're taught. And every time we grow into something bigger, these same things come up and we have to just kind of pull apart the pieces. Like, okay, is this the inspiration? Is this the how? Is this where I'm forcing it? Is this where I'm trusting? We just kind of always have to look at those individually to know that we're staying on the path.
Do you think because the job search has opened it up, like I've realized that $52,000 to $72,000 more is coming to me.
Yeah.
And that was shocking, exciting, and also kind of like scary in a way for me. It made me I was like, are you sure I'm qualified to make that much money? And I got coached from my career counselor to be like, yes, you deserve it. Yes, absolutely. And as soon as I started owning it, I think maybe, do you think that's why some of these like older stories are like bubbling up, because it is kind of moving to the next level of realizing like, okay.
Absolutely.
That explains a lot.
They're getting forced out by all this new goodness. Like there's no space for them. So they have to bubble up to be let go of.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amazing. Leslie.
So my question is really about like the story of Cassie.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious, like, how did you like one day realize that you had the ability to manifest things, and that you could choose to manifest, and that you could consistently do that?
Yeah.
And what did that feel like? How did it come about? And then like, what did you do with it once you figured all that out?
Yeah. So if some of you probably heard this story, but the first time that I ever manifested money, I was 12 or 13. I was in eighth grade. And there was a fundraiser, and there was if you sold so many things the first day, you got in this drawing for $20, and there were 5 $20 bills. And before I went to sleep, I sold the things. That part was easy. And before I went to sleep, I visualized walking down the stairs and getting my $20 after my name had been called. I visualized hearing my name and then doing that. And the next day I won $20. And so that is where it started. And like most people, like that was amazing. And then there's quite a bit of time before I actually learned how to harness that power, because that was so easy in a way, which is what happens to a lot of manifestors. Like, ooh, I just asked for that and it happened, but then they can't repeat that because they get in their own way about it, right? And so that, I think for a long time, that was me. But I had always studied like visualization and law of attraction and mindset because I was an athlete. You know, my high school coach's license plate was visualize. So I was getting exposed to all of that. And it took a long time to learn that I could harness that. And I really think that is, as I was that's not true. So I learned, I just started and one of them was just setting an intention for a raise. I was like, oh, I want a 20% raise. I didn't actually know when I set that intention, like the average raise was like 4%. But I got it a couple months later. I didn't even know there was a process for like when raises came out. I was just like, hey, I'd like a 20% raise, and I got it. And then I did it again a couple of years later. It took a little longer. It didn't happen. It happened with a promotion and a raise, and I ended up getting that money. And so once I learned I could do that, it started happening quicker and quicker. And then when I got really clear, I wanted to be financially independent and not have to go to work if I didn't want to. There was a lot of, we could probably fill like 4 hours of this story, but before that got very clear, there was a lot of not doing it right. There was a lot of forcing it. There was a lot of howing it. There was a lot of thinking I was doing it and I wasn't doing it. And I just got to a point where I finally let go. And then that manifestation of, having enough passive income to leave my job happened relatively very quickly, I think. And so then I learned I could do it. And then I started teaching it. And then I started doing it more and more and just kept doing it and doing the things that I teach you guys. So that was the nutshell version. We can, of course, do a very longer one if you ever want on that. But any follow-ups to that?
No, not really. I guess it's like partly it's a question of, well, I know we never arrive anywhere. We just keep going.
Yeah.
But I think it was partly a question of like, where were you and how did you one day realize that it was possible to harness and that you could choose to do that and that it would work for you and that it was there for you anytime you wanted to access it?
I don't know if there was one day, right? I think sometimes it's still, grow. Like I do know that, but even at the next level, it's like, oh yeah, I can ask for that. Oh yeah, that can be so easy. Oh yeah, I can just throw that out there that I want that and it happens next week. Yeah, I don't think we ever arrive. I think we continue to grow and ask, because I think as humans, and especially anyone who's listening to this show or shows up in the Enchanted Circle, they're innately wired to want to grow and to want more on a very deep level. And so those of us that end up in this circle, be it the immediate Enchanted Circle or anyone listening to this, or really anyone who finds my work, there's always going to be a next place to grow. They'll never arrive because you get to enjoy. It's not that you're always pushing. You do enjoy it. You create this best life. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it could get even better. And oh, it could get even better. And it could still get even better. And I will work on if it comes to me, I will definitely share in a future episode if there was one moment I got that. But I definitely think it was over time. I don't think it was one like lightning bolt moment. Tiara.
Yes. So my question is, I try to write it down so I can word it correctly, but how do I deal with manifesting massively in the past, but having a bad experience with that manifestation, and wanting to manifest massively again without having the subconscious say, well, last time you did this, XYZ happened. So just how do you deal with that?
It's one of those things that you have to trust. So you have to trust that you're here. I could, knowing a little about your situation, and go through and imagine why that happened, and it doesn't matter. Like going back and figuring it out, we would be wrong anyway because we're not actually there, right? We're always looking through that back lens. So we couldn't figure out why that happened. But what we do know is that this process makes you the person who has what you want. And so you can let go every time that comes up and be like, oh no, but this time I'm not just manifesting the thing, I'm becoming the person who has the thing.
Okay.
So I get to have it all. I get to be it all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yay. Amazing. Anyone else have a question that they are burning to ask or would like to ask? Chana?
So going back earlier to your story, like I kind of is the law of attraction or your manifesting, is it kind of like your superpower? Like, is it always on, or do you choose, like, I'm going to turn it on right now. Like I'm going to use the law of attraction.
It's
now.
always on.
Always on. Okay.
Yeah. So I have friends, what popped into my mind when you said that, I definitely have friends that are like, that only happens when I'm with you. And I don't even notice. So sometimes it's, like I have friends that are like, oh, we'll never wait an hour for a table, because if I'm with Cassie, like they might say an hour, but we get called in 5 minutes. Or, in DC one time we were at this, really cool bar. I don't remember what it's called, but it has a great view. And my friends are like, oh, it's cool. We're with Cassie. We'll get like, yeah, it's totally crowded and you can't see, but something will open up, and it did in 5 minutes. And so it's always on. I don't necessarily consciously turn it on or notice. It's just who I've become. Yeah. I like that. That was a fun question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Louisa?
I just love that comment that you made. It's the person you become. That's the magic.
Yes.
The magic is us. It's the person. That's what it is.
It is. That's it. That's all of it. I love it. Cool. Any other questions I can answer for you guys today? Amazing. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this Q&A session. I hope you learned something, and make sure to come back next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.